we've had some of the, let's say like younger employees, maybe like early 20s who, they give it like a year or two here and they leave. And I marvel at this because, you are proof that they can start answering phones and they can eventually have a leadership position. Why do you think they can't see that?
It's hard. It's definitely a job that does require for you to work at it every day and make yourself better every day. And I'm not saying that the youngsters won't do that, but when it gets hard, people tend to be like, let me go see what's best thing out there. But I have to say, we have leads in these departments now that have currently seen the vision and understand it. And I tell them all the time, I'm like, guys, like, this is your opportunity to absorb as much knowledge from me because, God forbid I'm not here tomorrow. You at least will be able to still run this law firm and still be successful here.
Hey there, hot messes. Welcome to Success of a Hot Mess. I'm Stacey Isaacs. We're going to dive into candid conversations about conquering challenges, embracing our unique selves, and finding success in the beautiful mess of it all. Good morning. Welcome to Success of a Hot Mess podcast, brought to you by workinjuryrights.com. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking to a friend and longtime employee of mine, Monica Wallace. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Does this bring back any memories of...
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What does it bring you back to?
It's like interviewing for the first time, except we're missing William and David at the table.
Exactly. You got lucky today.
Yeah.
How long ago did you interview with us?
So it's been a little bit over 8.5 years.
That is crazy.
I
So
know.
I want the listeners to know that this woman sitting right here was our very first employee. So back then, the law firm was just me, David, and William, and we had no office help. We did our own scheduling. We did our own pleading. I don't know how we did it. But then we found someone called Monica Wallace. So we were very surprised to hear that you spoke Spanish. Now, Spanish is actually your first language, right?
Yeah, that is correct. So funny story. The last name Wallace obviously doesn't give people the idea that I am fluent in Spanish. So my spouse actually had this wonderful idea that I should hyphenate. So I said, well, why not? Let's give it a shot. And sure enough, Mr. Harrell called me. So I remember till this day getting that phone call. It was like on a Monday, very brief. He's like, I'm going to ask you to come in for an interview on Friday at 4:30. And I'm thinking, like, Friday on at 4:30? Wow, that's so late. But yeah, and then I went in, sat across the table, didn't hear from none of you for like 2.5 weeks. So I'm like, man, I must have been terrible. And finally, David did call.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history, baby.
Do you remember any questions that we might have asked you at that interview?
I think one of the biggest questions was, why was such a gap of employment from my previous law firm to going back to work? That probably, and I wasn't sure how to answer that question. Luckily, you were a mom, so you understood. I wanted to take a few years to kind of just raise the kids. I feel that, you only live those moments once in a lifetime, so I wanted to be there, and luckily you understood.
I did understand. I want to compliment you on your shirt. Thank you for representing.
Always branding.
You are always branding. But I don't even know if a lot of employees here, because we do have new employees all the time coming, I don't know if they even know your entire story. I mean, and we'll get into, prior to you working with us, but even just in the 8 years that you've been here, you are now Chief Operating Officer. And you started, what would you call your first job here?
Scary. So going back to that first day, and I laugh and I joke around with David all the time, but my Training was about an hour and a half with him. And he's like, okay, I'm out. Bye. And I'm like,
And that is like trademark David, right? Like his attention span is, I'm surprised you got the 90 minutes.
Yeah. He just walked out. I have to go to a depot. Bye. And I'm like, okay.
So you were responsible at that time for doing scheduling for 3 attorneys, all the pleadings, basically office manager, legal assistant, everything.
Receptionist, everything. I mean, everything. I had no idea anything about workers' comp. I was completely coming in 100% blind.
And now you basically have trained every staff member here. You have trained our virtual staff in Colombia. It's really pretty remarkable. But take us to the beginning. Where did you grow up?
So I was born in New York. My dad was definitely wanted to go back to his country and be there. So my parents made the decision to go back to Colombia. I was roughly about a year and a half.
Oh, okay.
So I moved back, grew up there. I think I came back to the States maybe between 13 and 14 years old. Went back to New York for a year, roughly, maybe a little less. It was too cold for my dad. He's like, nope, this is not for me. He had family at the time in Florida, and he decided, let's jump in the car and drive 22 hours. So we drove down to South Florida. My parents fell in love with it, and we decided to move. Obviously, as you can imagine, I'm a teenager, didn't speak the language. New York was a little bit more Hispanic friendly at the time.
Then Florida? That's surprising.
Yeah, because I came to Plantation, Florida,
okay.
not Miami.
Right.
So back then, it wasn't like it is now, obviously. And it was rough because I didn't have anyone to help me. And my mom refused to put me in like ESOL classes at the time because she's like, you need to learn English.
Did you learn any English in Colombia?
Yeah, but it's definitely different than trying to have fluent conversation with somebody, trying to understand, trying to be in school full time. I mean, it was challenging. So I had to kind of just teach myself, look at dictionaries, watch Sesame Street, and just kind of start from there. And before I knew it, I mean, they say that when you're young, you tend to just adapt really quickly, and sure enough, I did.
What about your parents, though? How did they learn English?
So they didn't. They just kind of know the basics, kind of things around, maybe ask basic directions and things like that, but they never really spoke fluently. So at home, I always spoke Spanish.
Okay. And what did they do for work?
So my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and my dad, he, not a lot of people know this, but my dad was very ill, and he had like rheumatoid arthritis, so he was home too. So it was just, he kind of just retired from Colombia and just came here, and we just kind of
survived.
Made it live, yeah.
That's what makes it even more incredible, because you then went on to go to college.
Yep, I went to college. I always wanted to be an attorney, believe it or not, but life takes funny turns. And after I got my bachelor's, I decided I wanted to get married, started a family, and, I kind of did that. And I wanted to stay home with my first daughter for 6 months. 6 months becomes 8 years later. And then we had 2 daughters. And then I decided I wanted to go back to work.
Okay. So you went to work for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at what point did you say, I really want to get it's your MBA, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you guys decided to scale the law firm, I'm going to say September of 2021, the opportunity comes to me. I think we all sat here in the same room right now, actually. And then I was given the position of becoming the CEO of Work Injury Rights. I wanted to make sure I felt like I was capable of doing the job. And I'm not quite sure if that makes sense to people listening, but I knew what it took to run this law firm, but I wanted to actually learn the finances and the marketing and what actually went behind the business. So I took the decision to went back to school after so many years. And it was challenging because now I'm running a law firm full time, going to school full time on Saturdays, and I was able to get an MBA in 11 months.
Yeah, that is simply crazy and very, very impressive because you're also a mom. I know you take care of your own mom. You're a wife. I really don't know how you did that. I'll just say it's because you're young, so you're less tired. But speaking of being a mom, you're also navigating the teenage years with your daughters.
Yeah.
I think our daughters are exactly the same age.
Yeah.
So what's that like? But yours are like little angels, so it's probably very easy.
Luckily I have a great support system. I have to say Chris has been phenomenal. I mean, luckily he's always been supportive from day one, even understanding that, work injury rights does take a lot of my time and, going back to school and things like that. But he's always stepped up. He's definitely pulled away. We know what we need to do to take us forward. If he knows that if I can't make it to taking her to dance, he's there, vice versa. If I can't make it to doctor's appointments, he definitely, he has a lot more flexibility, let's just say. So he's able to be there.
And he is a police officer. He's a captain?
Yeah, he's a captain.
Okay. Shout out to Chris. He's also he's great on the grill, right? And a bourbon enthusiast.
For sure.
And I do give credit to the spouses of our team because I don't know if it's because it's a law firm, if it's because we're primarily female. I don't know what it is, but this atmosphere at this law firm does come with its ups and downs emotionally. So I'm sure Chris has heard some probably great stories from you.
Yeah, I mean, he does. One thing I say is, having this role, it tends to be a lonely position because you can't vent to a lot of people. So yeah, he's definitely been there to hear me vent, but again, support system for sure. He understands my job is my job, and he doesn't really voice an opinion. He just listens, which is great. And it has helped me navigate a lot of situations that have happened over the past 8.5 years.
What would you say your day looks like here? Like, how many different things are you doing?
My day starts really early, and I love to be here before anybody walks in. So usually I'm about 7:45 in the morning. I walk in. I take those 35-40 minutes with praise and glory because nobody comes in. I have an open door policy, and I try to always tell the employees that so they know that I will stop doing whatever I'm doing to either listen to them or just give them some sort of guidance or help them out with whatever I can. So my day, a lot of people will walk into the office, so on and so forth. Just issues that come up. Sometimes, taking escalation calls for Spanish-speaking clients, helping the intake team if they're on overflow and, a potential new client comes in, just helping with the everyday, whatever ideas David has that day or he woke up doing new projects. So it's pretty much, it goes by really fast. Sometimes you'll hear me say, man, I wish I had more hours in the day.
So let's talk about intake because, again, when it was just William, myself, and David, we would receive these phone calls on our cell phones of potential new clients, and we had to do the intake, and it was very intrusive. We're with our families, and a client calls at, 10 p.m. on a holiday. I mean, I remember one Christmas day, David and I went and signed a lady up. And so before COVID, we actually would have people come in the office and sign them up. And this, I would say, you basically took what we had and turned it into this intake machine that is all done online. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah.
The whole process is now online. You also have trained staff in Colombia to do the same. Yeah. And I know at first I think you were resistant to the idea of employees not physically being in the office.
Yeah.
Has your opinion on that changed?
Yeah, this is definitely a topic of conversation. David and I bumped heads numerous occasions. It was challenging, not gonna lie. Definitely training somebody in-house versus training them somebody over Zoom is a little bit more complicated. You have to stop, share your screen, let me see what you're doing. No, you're not doing this. So it came with challenges. I think that once we were able to successfully transition our intake department, then it was like, okay, we could do this. That's when okay, well, maybe we could fix this and maybe we could implement that. Now the system has been developed over the years where now we have videos, platforms that we send out our team for training. Intake does hold a very special place in my heart for sure. I did intake for this law firm probably for 3 years or so.
And you still do it if somebody's out.
Yeah, I like to, and I'll tell the team, I like to stay on the calls every so often just so that I don't lose momentum, especially because, sometimes they'll come in and they'll ask me a question on how to overcome an objection. And I always feel like, it's very important that, you stay up to, just training, just kind of being on the phones, kind of just dealing with people and trying to learn from overcoming objections so that you could teach how to overcome objections. So I kind of do that all the time.
And for people that don't understand that lingo, you mean if someone is sort of hesitant to sign up with us?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Okay. I wish everybody that would call was ready to sign up.
Right.
But out of 10 callers, maybe nine of them are not ready. They're scared. They have 1,000,001 questions, and you have to sound confident, like you know what you're talking about. I mean, so it's important that, you stay in beat with that.
Have you ever lost it on a client, and you won't get in trouble, but during these during these escalation calls?
During the escalation calls? I wouldn't say I lost it. I think I tell clients, listen, I'm being very respectful. I'm trying to understand where you're coming from. But in order for us to have a successful conversation, you either have to treat me with respect or else we're just not going to be able to move from this point on forward. I wouldn't say I lost it. That usually tends to calm people down, and I also understand that they're not upset at me. They're just upset at what's going on. So you kind of just can't take it personal.
No, you definitely can't. But when they are cursing and name calling, I know I personally have lost it. You have to be very patient.
Yeah, I mean, luckily nobody has cursed me out. They start getting loud and I'm like, listen, I'm trying to help you, but there's no reason to yell. And I rather also take the heat for the staff. I feel like they don't deserve it. And I try to tell our clients that, how would you feel if somebody was treating you that way when they're trying to help you? And usually that kind of brings them back to reality a little bit.
Yeah, that part's true. So you saw us when you were the only employee. Mm-hmm. And then how many employees do we even have today?
Today, without ownership and myself, we're 51.
That is insane.
Isn't that crazy?
Last week it was 45.
No, 51 today.
51 employees. And how many are domestic?
23.
Okay, so we're 50-50 at this point.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
And how has it been to navigate the 3 different personalities of me, David, and William?
Oh, man, we're going to get into the juicy stuff now. Okay. I would say at the beginning was really, really difficult just because you 3 are so different.
And we were all actually handling cases.
Right. And all of you wanted things done differently. Fast forward to today, obviously, we had conversations and, it's part of just, growing and developing this relationship over the years. And now you learn each other's personalities, you learn how to communicate better. And, obviously, like I said, it's taken time. It didn't happen overnight. But now I kind of know, hey, I know when William is upset, stay away. It's not the right moment. Same thing when David has an idea, you just, of course, absolutely, we'll go with it.
Is that how I should operate? I'm married to him like over a decade. I haven't figured that one out.
I just like, yeah, you sure? Of course, we'll do this because I know tomorrow he'll have another idea.
Right.
And so I kind of, we'll see where we end up. Before I used to be like, okay, we're going to do this today. And then tomorrow's like, no, I don't want it that way. And I'm like, oh.
Right. Or he'll be like, what are you talking about? I never said that.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
Now it's like, I'm going to start recording you. But, fast forward, I feel like now we have a really good relationship. We could tell each other pretty much everything. We know when each other's are upset. We know where not to step on each other's lane. And that all took time. It took time.
Well, I've always been a pleasure.
For sure.
I tell my daughters all the time, like, I don't know how, if I had a traditional 9-to-5 job, I could do what I do for them. Like, who would be driving Jules 35 minutes each way to dance, and get her there by 4:30? There's just no way. So I really have an admiration for you that you've been able to do this, get your advanced degree, be so present with the family. And I think what you do, correct me if I'm wrong, when you are on vacation or something, or a weekend, or even just dinners, you really try to turn this place off and focus.
Yeah, no.
But David's probably calling you.
That is not a true statement. No, I never turn off. And it's good and it's bad. And I call David from every single vacation just to do check-in points. It has become like my third child. I feel that I know it's not my firm, but I definitely feel very responsible to make sure everything runs a certain way. I feel that being at this position, you always have that sense of responsibility, making sure everything goes correctly, making sure there's not a fire, making sure that, everything starts running through like just a machine. Luckily, now I could say that yes, I have tried and worked very hard to try to turn myself off as much and try to be present, especially because the girls are growing up and I feel like my days are counted. So I try to be present during vacations and things like that, but I'm always available. And that's a promise that I made to, our leads in the departments. No matter if I'm not here, you could always call me.
So what are you most proud of at Work Injury Rights that you have created?
Oh, God, there's so many things, but definitely.
What are the highlights?
Yeah, definitely one of my proudest moments has been taking this intake team from 27% back in January of 2022 to currently converting over 92%. It's
They
amazing.
convert over 92% of leads.
Yep.
Now, did you have a sales background or something?
So I actually did when my first job was working in telemarketing back when, you had to like buy long distance for 5 cents. So and I had to do cold calling and I had to call people's homes and like sell them long distance. So from a very, I had that sales kind of understanding that you have to sell your voice, you have to be amicable and all of those things. And I teach this to the intake team. Like, you have to sell yourself. You're not selling us, you're selling yourself. And it has learned and it has worked. And here we are today, 92%. It's been incredible. I think another thing I'm extremely proud of is, transitioning from Time Matters to Filevine. I mean, when I look now, how organized we are. We could be from anywhere in the world and be able to log into our database, take care of our clients, generate a document, check out your calendars. That Filevine integration has been amazing. And I was so blessed because I was able to work with them one-on-one, be able to learn how to map, all of that. It's just super beneficial. So I'm extremely proud of Filevine as well.
Oh, yeah. I have to add, you're also my personal IT problem solver. Yeah, we basically just go to you for everything. But the firm could not run without you. Like, we'd be lost. You know that. So I hope that you feel the gratitude. I don't know that it's expressed all the time to you, but I hope that you know that we do. Really appreciate you. We've had some of the, let's say, like, younger employees, maybe like early 20s, who, they give it like a year or two here and they leave. And I marvel at this because, you are proof that they can start answering phones and they can eventually have a leadership position. Why do you think they can't see that?
It's hard. It's definitely a job that does require for you to work at it every day and make yourself better every day. And I'm not saying that the youngsters won't do that, but when it gets hard, people tend to be like, let me go see what's best thing out there. But I have to say, we have leads in these departments now that have currently seen the vision and understand it. And I tell them all the time, I'm like, guys, like, this is your opportunity to absorb as much knowledge from me because, God forbid I'm not here tomorrow. You at least will be able to still run this law firm and still be successful here. So I try to teach them out, and we have monthly meetings, and I'm always telling them that. And so I feel like now they're starting to understand that. So, hopefully they'll be here forever.
I hope so. Because it is, a time suck when you have to retrain people. Yep. What was it like going back to your country when you went to visit our employees there?
So I was just talking about this the other day, actually. It was crazy. I remember getting on that plane to Colombia. I hadn't been to Colombia in 25 plus years. At
No
least.
Desire? Or
I
no
wouldn't
time?
say no desire, but I left Colombia when Colombia was going through a really tough time. So I saw things as a young kid that, you probably don't want to see again. So going back, I didn't even know what to expect. But I landed and it was just like, they say that your blood calls you. It sure does. I mean, I just felt like I was stepping back into, where I needed to be. I just felt really nice being there. I still remember, obviously I posted on social media, I would have never gone back to Colombia if it wasn't because of work injury rights. And I probably would have never gone back, but I'm extremely grateful for that opportunity. Just to go and be able to show Chris, because he's been begging for years to go. And I'm like, no.
Have the kids been?
No, but we're going to go in December. I'm actually going to take them to Bogota. So we're going to go fly in just for a couple of days. And hopefully I'll be able to see my intake team there. So they're pretty excited.
How would you compare like the work culture there? So when you go visit our team in Colombia, are they very enthusiastic? Are they hardworking?
So I want to believe we have a really great culture here. It has definitely been something that we have to work at every day. But, I try to preach our core value of family. And, we are a family and we want to be there for each other. They're very welcoming there. It's a very just warm, just very warm when you walk in. They're willing to just do anything for you, which is very nice. Even if it's just like getting you a cup of coffee, it's just they're always wanting to be there for you, which is very nice. I feel very, very welcome. Definitely shout out to our Colombian peeps over there in Medellin. They have done amazing, and from day one, they have been with us. So
I know. I'm definitely planning to go there.
We have to, yeah.
We got to get over there and meet them. And it's not just Colombia. We have employees also.
Nicaragua. Yeah, Nicaragua. We have a good staff. Most of our case managers are from Nicaragua. And then we have 2 agents on our intake team from Nicaragua. Our reception desk, one of them is from Nicaragua.
And we cannot forget South Africa. Shout out to
South
Michelle.
Korea, South
Michelle's a
Africa.
listener of the podcast. So
Yeah, Michelle's been great. I love Michelle. She's definitely, I have to say, she's always helping me on, anything that has to do with settlement. She's a rock star for sure.
well, I appreciate your time.
Yeah, no, of course.
And
Anytime.
before we close out, who's the best looking partner at the firm?
We had this. This was supposed to be our topic at the huddle yesterday.
Oh, I wasn't at the huddle. You were gonna.
I was like, I'm not gonna ask that. Listen, I have to say we have a good-looking ownership team for sure, for sure. Probably the best good-looking in South Florida.
All right, you'll get that bonus.
Yeah, but
All right, I won't make you pick. But thank you, Monica.
Thanks.
Now get back to work running the firm.
thank you.
And thank you, listeners.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Success of a Hot Mess. If you loved what you heard today, be sure to subscribe so that you never miss a beat. Until next time, keep rocking those hot mess moments with style and grace. Cheers.